welcome Alexander Pattyn, the co-founder of Certn.global. We talked about community, so let's put it in a real example, real-life example. And Certn.global, in fact, is an organization specializing in managing professional certification programs. And Alexander will talk about P3.express Community and its impact worldwide.
Hello everyone. It's really nice to be here. I think I've been now 24 hours in Kosovo and I really like it so far. My name is Alexander Pattyn and I'm from the magical kingdom of Belgium, the land of beer, chocolate and rain. And I brought one of them. Well, it's actually arriving tomorrow, so be ready for the rain. And here today to talk about, well, not project management and life skill. We'll end with that, so if I can have the clicker, then we'll talk about the P3.express community. The clicker is not really working as well. Okay, so I'm talking about the P3.express community. Now, before we do that, it's important to understand that P3.express is backed up by an organization, as Nader mentioned, called Omimo. Omimo is a non-commercial, volunteer-driven organization. So Nader and Frank, for example, they're part of the core team. They're volunteers, they're not paid, and they're not even allowed, because they're part of the core team, to have commercial benefits from P3.express. So you will never find a paid training by the members of the core team. And that is, of course, to avoid conflicts of interest. Now, Omimo, as mentioned, has different management modules, all in the project management ecosystem. And today we're here to talk about P3.express. So all the numbers that that you'll see today are really about P3.express alone. So who uses P3.express? On average, every year is about 250,000 people that use P3.express, the manual online in their projects and so on. Where? Well, in almost 100 different countries are P3.express users located, so that's great, taking into account that we only started in 2014. And P3.express is now translated in 29 different languages. These are all languages that are done by the community. So we don't have people paid to translate P3.express. We have lots of volunteers who work together for mini projects and translate the content of Omimo, and in this case, P3.express. Which is great because, as Nader already mentioned, we want to be inclusive. And many people and many resources are only available in English. Now, if you have to learn something in a language that's not your own, you will never feel 100% comfortable. It's why basic education in every country is, of course, in their local language. And the same happens for P3.express. So it is available in every local language, and about 80% of all people who learn P3.express use it in a language that is not English, which is, to me, actually a surprise. I thought it would be much more English. So who developed P3.express? Because you see Frank and Nader here today, but of course they're only a part of a very big team. They're in the core team, but in general, if we take into account who contributed to the development of P3.express and where it is now, it's more than 250 different people from all over the world. And that's really key because we want to learn from people in all different situations, in all different industries, in different projects, different sizes. So it's really important to have a very diverse audience that creates a best practice. If you really want to be a best practice, you need to learn from more than one individual. Okay, so I want to take you back and talk a little bit about the history of P3.express. I mentioned that we started around 2014, but I want you to talk you through the history of P3.express and what actually started the P3.express movement. So we have to rewind quite a bit to the big bang of P3.express. And of course, we want to know what's at the source of the big bang of P3.express. For that, it's in 2014. And when we zoom in more and more and more, we end up with cake. Now, this is, of course, an analogy. Who here has ever made a cake in his life? By show of hands? Okay, great. So not that many people. I thought the food I have here is great. So why do not many people know how to bake cakes? Anyway, what do you use when you make a cake? Anyone shout? Eggs, milk, okay. But what's the basis? How do you start working on a cake? You use a recipe, exactly. Now, that is actually the source of what I want to talk to you here about. We use a recipe, and a recipe that's often handed over from generation to generation and improved each time a little bit, right? If you have to make a cake without a recipe, you'll burn a few, or it becomes too dry, or just burn the complete kitchen down, as I heard that Josiana and Eldisa did in an Albanian pub a few years ago, almost set fire to a kitchen. So the whole idea of a recipe is that you use a structured approach, a step-by-step approach that has been developed by others in previous generations and improved each time. And that's actually what we need to do with project management as well. What we noticed in 2014 is that many people use ad hoc project management, which in essence, it's not completely wrong. You can manage a project ad hoc way, like you can bake a cake in an ad hoc way, but it will take you much longer, it will cost a lot more researches, and your failure rate will be a lot higher. So it's important that we learn from others' experience. So that begs the question, well, in 2014 there were a lot of project management systems already available, and to be honest, very good ones. But why did people still go back to ad hoc project management? And there's actually research about that, and it shows that even though people knew structured project management, they still did not use it in their real-world projects. And the main reason Frank already highlighted is that the issue is with implementing project management. So you can pay a lot of money to go to a course, you learn best project management, best practices, and then you go back to your desk and you try to implement it, and it turns out to be very difficult. The reason for that is that it's really hard to tailor a project management system to your needs. So when P3.express was designed, one of the first things we said was, we need a system that is minimalist. A system that does not require the upfront tailoring. So if we have this graph with, like Frank already mentioned it briefly, but I'm going to explain it a little bit more in length. If you have effort on the x and time on the this as, then in maximalist systems, you need, before the project starts, you spend quite some time on tailoring the system, deciding which templates you're going to use, in which form, and that takes time and effort. And that's often where it goes wrong, because we all like to have lots of data. And when we decide to use a project management system, we typically overestimate the amount of documents we need. So we spend a lot of time on tailoring it, and we don't often do it right. And obviously when the project starts, we adjust. If you use a minimalist system, you don't have that upfront tailoring, because there's nothing to remove. It's already the bare minimum you can use. And then when you start your project, you add what you need or you change what you want, but you don't do it upfront. So what we actually see is in the community, people who learn P3.express go home immediately, implement it. Will it be perfect? Probably not, but at least they implement it and they have a step-by-step approach to follow. So we knew it needed to be minimalist. And another important part is that it needed to be open. P3.express is free to use for everyone. You can go to the website and download it. You can use it, but even more, you can adjust it to what you want. You all saw earlier that it had the simple activity notes. What we often see is companies downloading it and adjusting it to exactly what they want, adding or removing the activity during their project. And you're allowed to do that. And that seems obvious, but it is not. Many of the existing project management systems in 2014 were private. They were protected by copyrights, meaning that you could not change them unless you paid the owner. P3.express is open and licensed under Creative Commons. If you want, you can even download it, change it, give it your own name, and sell it. It's allowed. But the reason we do that is because it's a volunteer-driven organization. Everyone who works with P3.express should feel that he co-owns it and doesn't donate his time to a private organization that can profit from it. So it is important that it's open, free, Creative Commons licensed. It took a few years, mid-2016, to develop the first version, and a few years later we added the guiding principles. As standalone principles, the nearly universal principles of projects. So back then, the idea of modularity was born. The fact that you should be able to use every Omimo module as a standalone issue, for example, if you use another project management, portfolio management framework. If you use Scrum, you can still use the nearly universal principles of projects. Or you can still use P3.express. It needs to be compatible. Again, the idea is it needs to be freedom respecting. If you don't want to use P3.express, but want to use P5.express, it should be possible. We need to respect that freedom of choice. And then a really important step is the EU recognized the issues in a little bit late, as usual, in 2020, nearly 2021. And they started to fund P3.express significantly. And it's back then that we started to see really, really big growth in P3.express because we were able to use the channels of the European Commission to promote P3.express. We released a new version. We released a flavor of P3.express for really small projects, under 7 people. And Omimo was founded based, as Nader already mentioned, on the terms open, minimalist, and modular. So that's the history of P3.express in a nutshell. Now, if we put all the modules on the scheme, you already also saw this, we developed the 5 layers of management. And at the moment, we have portfolio management in P5.express. In project management, we have P3.express, micro P3.express, and nearly universal principles of projects. So that is what Omimo has developed. Now, it took us a long time to develop a certification program for the Omimo modules. And the reason for that is we didn't really saw a point for certification in the beginning. But the community really started to, well, make some noises that they really needed a certification for their employers. So I think it is now in 2022 we launched P3.express Practitioners. A P3.express Practitioner is a certification program that really shows that an individual can use P3.express in real-world projects. Some other certification programs offer like a more basic level of understanding, a foundation level, that shows that you're aware of the principles. We don't have that for P3.express. And the reason is, if you know P3.express, you should be able to use it. That's the whole point. So we only have a practitioner level. If you learn P3.express, you need to be able to use it. And for that, Omimo works together with an external examination center that gives them the ISO compliance that is needed. So that's the organization I represent, Certn. We're an independent examination and certification institute, and we work for Omimo to do their exams. Now let's say you want to achieve your P3.express practitioner certification. How do you do that? First of all, you study. Makes a lot of sense. That's not rocket science. But how do you study? That's important. So there is a network of accredited trainers. Accredited trainers, it's not a commercial model for Omimo to make money. It's actually, accreditation for trainers is free of charge. The only goal of the accreditation program is to make sure that we identify those trainers who have proven excellence in their training. So how do we do that? We have surveys and questionnaires for students to fill out after training, and if they're all good, the trainer can get accreditation. So if you're interested, there are 2 accredited trainers here, PMable and some individual trainers as well, who have achieved the accreditation. But it's not needed to follow a course. You can also self-study on the website. You can download the manual or even the online manual, and you can take a project simulation game. Online. So we have, I think it's about 50-50 people who self-study and 50-50 who take online courses. The exam, of course, then there's a code of conduct. We want all our accredited, or all our certified individuals to follow the basic human rights and be inquisitive about project management, yet critical. And then there is an exam. The exam is a multiple choice exam, but it is a practical exam. So it won't ask you, give me activity 20 of the P3.express framework. That's not how it should work. It gives you real cases and asks you how, as a project manager, would you respond. It's a practical exam. It's an open book exam, so we definitely won't test the specific vocabulary also because you would be able to look it up, but it really tests the way you estimate how to do project management in specific scenarios. And after that, you're awarded the P3.express practitioner certification. I know that some organizations have doubtful recertification policies, so I quickly want to highlight that for P3.express, the recertification is up to you and it's not charged. So if you want to recertify, you'll receive a free exam every year and you can update your certificate if you want, but you don't have to. The certification is valid for life. However, as you can see here, it is assigned to the year you've received it in. So if you want to update your certification, you can, and P3.express offers a free exam to recertify, and by my knowledge, the only framework that actually does that. And I want to end with this, something that I really, really believe is that project management is really a life skill. It's not that if you are not a project manager that you don't need to be able to learn the basics of project management. And it's something that I don't see many students here in the room. I thought it would be more students, but I really, really always advocate for students to learn at least the basics of project management, because no matter in what job or function you will land, some basic project management skills will always help. So voila, that's it. If you have any other questions, I'm happy to answer.
Do you want the video right now?
Yeah, we actually have a short video of the community, the global community, saying hi to all of you. So if the technology works, which at the Innovation Center I expect it will, then we will see the video now. And if not, someone can sing a song in the meantime.
Or I'll just say the fact that, as you said, project management is a life skill. And in fact, I just remember at the manual where it presents the project manager professionals, it says that project management isn't just a management position, but it's a change in career. And that's why we need to implement it and to get more advanced in this type of field where, of course, every one of us has to know more. So let's take a look at the video now.
If you can, please count the languages you
Albania is in
understand.
there too, so.
Count the languages you understand.
Xin chào, mình là Nhi đến từ Việt Nam.
Hi, I'm Williams and I'm from Britain.
أنا مها بنت نوح المطيري من المملكة العربية السعودية.
I am Pavel Ioannis from Lithuania.
Stevan Kono from Istanbul, Turkey.
Ella Kudinska, Poland.
I'm Alfred from Nigeria.
Hi, my name is Sina and I'm living in Finland.
Minsk, Belarus.
Slovakia.
Malta.
Sudan.
Catalunya.
Jordan. Belgium.
Crec que el P3.express pot aportar molt per millorar el nostre èxit и eficàcia.
Ще използваме P3.express методологията за управление на задачи, свързани с голям проект, финансиран от Европейската комисия за създаването и развитието на най-голямата водородна долина в Източна Европа.
Hiện tại team mình cũng đã và đang áp dụng phương pháp quản lý dự án tối giản này.
من خلال استخدام منهجية P3.express استطعت التجسير بين تصميم المشاريع التنموية وتنفيذها.
I use the tools and the techniques of P3.express to help my team members to get ready from day one on project.
أصبحت أطبقها في جميع مشاريعي الشخصية والغير شخصية.
We switched to P3.express as our main project management system.
Operdor manual in P3.express from Smart Cime PMable.
I use these modules in business small company.
My organization and my projects.
To focus on what matters the most. It provides a roadmap for project implementation.
نصنع التحول في إدارة المشاريع.
So the sound was a bit wonky, but if you counted well, I think there's over 20 languages in this video, which shows you the reach of P3.express. There is one more person I would like to thank especially, and we actually have an award for him. It's a very valued member of our community. He has contributed to almost all OMIMO modules, and he's an accredited P3.express trainer. In that training, he has received excellent scores, and for that, Sevan, if you would like to join me on stage, we have an award for you. Frank, can you join me on stage? You can present your award if you want. Yeah, let's fix your trousers, yes. Okay. So, congratulations, Sevan. There is a certificate of appreciation.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Sevan. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me and thank you for this certificate of appreciation. For me, it's a pleasure to be in this ecosystem or family, whatever you call it. I enjoy it. I have a full-time job already, but I also teach P3.express. Almost every day I have something to do with it, like maybe I'm translating something or preparing a training or talking to people most of the time. And it's very good for me to receive this appreciation. Thank you very much to Frank, Alexander and Nader for, as I said them yesterday, for changing my life in a good way, in a positive way. And thank you for being here and sharing this moment with me. Thanks.
Thank you, Sevan.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
So thank you, Alexander. It was marvelous.